Academic literature and political sociology often operate on a standard assumption about right-wing populism. The model suggests these factions function as an engine fueled entirely by ugly feelings, xenophobia, humiliation, and intense, aggressive anger. If these movements relied solely on generating fear and outrage, their growth would be limited to the borders of the far-right fringe. Electoral data reveals a clear anomaly. These movements are successfully capturing millions of moderate, middle-class voters, people who explicitly reject the label of angry extremist and view themselves as highly empathetic citizens. Recent sociological research from Oxford points to a specific mechanism driving this expansion. The right generates widespread, pleasurable consent by establishing an alternative normative architecture, a new set of social rules dictating how people ought to feel. These politicians capture and re-engineer traditionally liberal emotion norms for their own use. We can observe this mechanism working through three specific emotional registers: sympathy, schadenfreude, and righteous indignation. These engineered feeling rules are rarely explicitly stated in speeches or policy proposals. Instead, they are delivered through camouflaged, disarming visual genres, formats that bypass our critical filters and simulate total authenticity. To understand the ongoing expansion of the global right, analyzing their policy text is insufficient. We have to forensically deconstruct their visual media feeds. Lega Party leader Matteo Salvini frequently bypasses the traditional press to speak directly to voters, often projecting a disarming warmth and approachability. When an Italian homeowner named Freddie shot and killed a foreign intruder, Salvini released a viral video about the incident. The piece adopts the visual language of a mockumentary, presenting scripted events in a documentary style to simulate unmediated authenticity. The visual framing does heavy psychological work. The camera occupies tight, claustrophobic spaces. Salvini appears with his sleeves rolled up, speaking softly with the homeowner. It perfectly simulates unmediated journalistic empathy. The narrative triggers the emotional register of sympathy, localizing it exclusively onto the property-owning perpetrator, while entirely erasing the victim from the story. This flowchart illustrates the underlying ideological architecture. Traditionally, the vector of compassion points toward a marginalized outsider. Here, that vector is rerouted toward the in-group property owner. Once rerouted, defending physical property is conceptually conflated with defending the national border. The viewer is invited to support vigilante anti-immigrant violence, while simultaneously experiencing the morally uplifting sensation of compassion. In Austria, the right-wing FPO party produces highly produced institutional propaganda wrapped in the aesthetics of popular entertainment. Their campaign video series, The Hubers, adopts the visual language of a multi-camera American sitcom, featuring saturated colors and canned laughter. The plot follows an unending stream of uninvited strangers breaking into a suburban home, while the husband casually downplays the threat, repeatedly cooking for the invaders in a frilly apron. Satire has historically functioned as a tool of micro-resistance for the powerless against oppressive systems. The FPO co-opts this genre to simulate an anti-establishment posture. But the true target of the video's mockery is not the outsider. The joke is directed squarely at the gullible liberal citizen who refuses to acknowledge the threat in his own kitchen. This triggers a highly specific emotional capture mechanic, schadenfreude, the experience of pleasure, joy, or self-satisfaction coming from the humiliation of another. Sharing a laugh at the naive homeowner's expense creates an instant psychological in-group. It validates the viewer's intelligence over the out-of-touch liberal elite. Weaponizing schadenfreude allows the viewer to bypass the guilt normally associated with xenophobia, turning political exclusion into a communal activity. In France, the dynamic shifts. During a wave of massive working-class labor protests against Emmanuel Macron's centrist government, populist leaders recognized an aesthetic opportunity. Party leader Marine Le Pen utilized raw, shaky cam smartphone footage to document her presence at a firefighter labor strike. The visual contrast is stark. Le Pen's polished appearance sits in opposition to the rugged, unified mass of the working-class protesters standing in thick smoke. This unmediated, amateur vlog aesthetic strips away the polish of official politics. By mimicking the visual grammar of a live social media feed, her presence is coded as unfiltered reality. Through this footage, Le Pen captures the emotional register of righteous indignation, a feeling historically associated with the political left during labor disputes. By visually aligning herself with universally recognized folk heroes like firefighters, she captures the moral high ground of the labor strike, while maintaining an implicit hierarchy of deserving nationals over undeserving foreigners. We have to address a structural reality. The contemporary political right operates almost entirely uncontested in this aesthetic space of myth-making. The modern left relies heavily on material critique and deconstruction as its primary mode of political praxis. Critique is an essential tool for diagnosing systemic rot, but a framework designed to dismantle power structures is hostile to the creation of positive, unifying imagery. This maps the two poles. On the right, a self-reinforcing loop of myth-making with simple icons of heroes and homes. On the left, a fragmented structure of deconstruction. It constantly interrupts its own narratives for ideological purity, breaking the spell of the story. Because of this analytical friction, the left frequently defaults to venerating abstract concepts or mourning dead martyrs. These are difficult anchors for average voters to emotionally rally behind. By contrast, the right builds living, digestible folk heroes, the vigilante homeowner protecting his family, or the striking firefighter standing against the elite. The left's commitment to academic deconstruction creates an aesthetic vacuum. This leaves open a space for the right to provide the character-driven mythologies that current audiences are gravitating toward. The mockumentary, sitcom, and vlog represent a shared strategy. Together, they form a new normative architecture, rules governing exactly whose lives and emotions have value. This architecture relies on an inequality of identities. But by wrapping these ideas in familiar visual genres, the exclusion is disguised as mere common sense. Prevailing academic advice often suggests that progressives must simply climb the empathy wall to understand the innate grievances of conservative voters. Treating these political emotions as spontaneous or innate human nature ignores the specific narrative mechanisms used to produce them. These feelings are meticulously engineered alternative feeling rules designed to make exclusion feel deeply pleasurable. As long as progressive politics focuses on pure critique, the right will continue to occupy the mythic storytelling space that dictates our political identity.